Yeah, that looks clear.
I don't know what I did, so hopefully that doesn't happen again. All right, so the only things that I wanted to bring up tonight are just like last week, just talking about the ways that virtual students can save some money, initiated from the VLSAC. If we don't get any new attendees in the evening, I won't go through all of that again. Um, However, I do, well, I might just, because I have one new information on the access code reimbursement program that I didn't remind myself to look up last week. And then we'll go through a budget report, maybe, not this week.
Not quite yet. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to format everything.
Okay. Don't overthink it. It's but yeah, next week that's totally fine. And then in terms of marketing, Sarah, I know at least I can speak for some of that this week as well. And then we'll have our guest speaker. And if we had the availability, I wanted to hopefully get a vote on our marketing budget to get us through spring and summer, but we may not get to that tonight. Any questions on the agenda, ladies? So what I was going to mention about access code reimbursement program this week was since the VLSAC is no longer kind of maintaining or taking on all the forms for this initiative, it's going through academic affairs now. They did make a new email and they have updated the forms that are on the website with where to send the information that to get your student reimbursement. And I believe that's hackreimburse@hack.edu. The forms are available at the link in the chat box if you need them and want to see the class list of what is available for reimbursement. You can find those if you're listening in on the recording. It's www.hack.edu/VLSAC. So we're going to skip over under item 2. We'll skip over budget report. This is just, going to be an opportunity for us to go over any spending the VLSAC does and kind of where current figures are. If any money moves from a different account to cover some spending, then this will be addressed here. As for the marketing report, this is a look at just getting what our achievements are, as we try to get out and let students know about what we can offer and what we're talking about as a student government. And with our new Facebook page, we do get some stats. So I wanted to get in the groove of just this being something to talk about, because it's always important that we know that our message is getting out there and we understand from students too how they're hearing about us. And I think that marketing, like just talking with your friends, like word of mouth is one of the best ways of marketing. So it's always important that we talk about in meetings, getting the VLSAC's name out there and letting them know that we have these meetings sometimes can fall on all of us too. Separately though, we did over winter break start developing a brochure, hopefully to hand out to advising offices so that when new students came in and enrolled in virtual classes, they would have some information about the VLSAC provided to them at that point. And that we've been working on that brochure for a few weeks now. And I think we're in like the final draft stage. We did get some new pictures to add into that and went through some of the revisions that were suggested to us. So Sarah and I were working on that before the weekend and got pretty far. So hopefully we'll be able to see that get sent to printing, in the next coming weeks and maybe redo the bookstore cards that go out with virtual students so the information that is provided is more accurate and up to date. And Emily, I'm just going to give this time if you had anything that you wanted to talk about. And same thing, any other EC members, if there's things that you wanted to bring up while we're here, now is the time.
I don't have anything to add at this time, so any of the EC members, feel free to chime in.
Well, I know everyone was here. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sarah.
Oh, no, you're good. I was just going to piggyback real quick on what Corey was saying about like examples of like the Facebook page. I'm going to be creating each GC meeting is going to have its own event page. And then what I did, I tried it out for the end of January and February just to make sure that it worked because I've never actually made an event through a page. So I don't know if you guys get notifications, but I'm going to be doing that, and then it might notify you with like the 24 hours before type thing. So just look out for those. If you don't remember, then you'll get a notification. So that's something I've been using as a reminder, not just for myself, but obviously for everybody. So
Yeah, and then you can share the event, around on Facebook too. So
yeah, that's what I did about an hour ago. So gonna try to get it in at least an hour or two before each meeting. So
This is just more of a side comment, but when we were talking about ways virtual students can save money, I realized that I'd just like to bring up that Hack is extremely affordable compared to like all other schools. I was talking to a friend who's interested in virtual learning, and it turns out other schools, if you even want 5 credits with just online, it's like $2,200, not including textbooks or anything. And me, I'm just like,
yeah,
oh wow,
that's true.
yeah, insane.
And we're lucky too. Hack has so many different programs that are available online, and a lot of them you can do almost like entirely from home. And we're trying to kind of delve into different things to incorporate or to work more with those students that are taking maybe their entire, program online. And ultimately, one of the goals of the VLSAC is just to continue fostering an online community of students at Hack. So through our D2L page, through our Facebook page, we think this is really important. So make sure to like our new Facebook page, share it to your friends. And if you catch those meeting events that Sarah's making, those are things that you can also directly from the event share to friends that are also at Hack. They could be blended students just as much as they're, taking all class online. Is kind of far and few between. But there's a lot of students that maybe they don't know if they'd like to take an online course, and they would be glad to hear from us why it works for us. So can share all that information around.
Sounds good.
Well, so with that, if there's no other additional information, our guest speaker, Jason Bowden, is here. I can turn kind of this over to him.
Great. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I really appreciate the opportunity. I always love getting a chance to kind of hop out and talk directly to students. So I don't really have a ton. I've got a couple things that I'd love to chat with you about. But really, for me, this was just an opportunity to touch base with all of you. I don't know how many of you are familiar with who I am or what I do. So if you want, I can start with a brief introduction and then go from there.
That would be great.
Awesome. All right. Well, hi, my name is Jason Bowden. I'm the Director of Academic Technologies and the Center for Design and Instruction. So basically, that's kind of two sides to the same house. My primary charge is to support teaching and learning with technology. So whether that's our in-classroom technology or for our online students, if it involves teaching and learning, then I'm either part of the decision or pushing toward adopting something or evaluating things, or sometimes like today, just kind of gathering feedback. I'd love to talk to you tonight about a couple things that we're working on, and then really ask if any of you have any technology questions or concerns. If there's anything that I can do, I'm obviously always happy to help. And if it's something that I'm not able to address directly, I can certainly work on finding out who can and what we can do to get you results there. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. Maybe we start there, and then we'll hop into the what I've got for you, because really for me that's more secondary to hearing from you directly.
So you're looking to maybe hear some feedback on students on what particularly?
About your technology experience at Hack, specifically, again, for my area, teaching and learning, but if it's outside of that, I can certainly take notes back. A big part of my charge is kind of bridging IT and other areas of the college. So even if it's not something that directly falls under me, the worst answer I'll give you is I'll look into that because we want to make sure that we're all working together to support our students.
Absolutely. Awesome. I know when the new student orientation D2L was kind of revamped, we went through it and kind of, I don't know, maybe, I'm not saying we tested it, but went through it again and saw some of the new was sort of more interactive modules. Is that something that you were a part of then?
That probably, I'm guessing, and Emily, correct me if I'm wrong, that probably came directly out of virtual. I was part of the NSO project, oh man, like a lifetime ago, it feels like now, when we first moved it from the previous platform over to Brightspace. But if it's anything new within the last year, that was probably actually directly through virtual.
Yes, actually, it was Josh Eckenrode who really was heading that project up.
So a question for you related to Brightspace while we're on that topic. On the whole, how was your experience in Brightspace as a learning platform? Do you find it easy to use, difficult to use? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? What do you wish it could do that it doesn't?
I like it better than other formats I've ever used. The Air Force, I think, used Blackboard for an online course at some point, and it wasn't difficult to navigate that, but I find that D2L Brightspace has a lot more to offer in terms of discussion boards are clearly laid out. I think the calendar and the news page is really helpful, which separates just coursework from the rest of having a class. It's more like having a class to have these different things set up rather than what my experience was in a course I had taken in Blackboard. It was just you logged in and it was just the content. It didn't have anything else other than that.
Great, thank you. That's good to know.
I found that D2L Brightspace has been extremely helpful with how straightforward it is. I haven't found myself having to like jump between a million different pages to find anything. It's very clear, especially since everything is formatted into like one giant tab and then subsections. And it's extremely helpful to know that, you know, it's extremely straightforward to find things and everything is very clean and organized.
Great, thank you.
I think those two ladies just took everything out of my mouth. But yes, it's amazing how it puts everything into one, but yet you can find each subject individually, and it's well organized in the calendar. I don't know what I'd do without that, but I really like it. This is the first time, well, within the last year being online, but I would definitely prefer to use D2L Brightspace over any other platform.
Great, thanks.
I actually, when I was in high school, I did a Blackboard. It took me a second because when you said that, Corey, I was like, wait, I know that. I did use Blackboard in high school, and I hated it. I did not like it whatsoever. In high school, they gave you this really crappy computer, you know, that has like a little red dot for the mouse.
Oh, those are rough, yeah.
Yeah, so that didn't help, and then the Blackboard just was not working for me. So when I was a little nervous when I first started like doing the transition, but whenever I started working with D2L, it was nice for me personally, just because I know the Blackboard, I don't know about now, but back whenever I was using it, it lagged a lot, and the setup was so confusing. So whenever I transitioned to D2L, it was a whole other ball game. I was waiting for it to crash within a split second because that's what I was used to. But it hasn't been too hard for me. But sometimes I do struggle with some of the classes because every teacher is different. Obviously, they set up their classes different. And like this semester, I'm doing 4 classes, and sometimes I forget that one teacher has one, content in one and then discussions in another. It gets kind of confusing. But I mean, everything has been working great for me. And I noticed that like you got obviously have to do updates on them. Usually I don't actually have to do any work when the updates are happening. So you guys are doing pretty good with, time frames. Like, oh yeah, you guys are in my mind about not updating it whenever I actually need work done. So, but I mean, sorry, I'm rambling. I'm a little tired. Been up since 6 this morning, so I'm done. But yeah,
I've noticed that too. That it doesn't there's no updates during like any time. And we actually had done some surveys for virtual students that kind of gave us an idea of when some of the more frequent use was during the week. Broke it down into like in the morning versus afternoon, evening, or late night, just based by day. And a lot of students end up spending their Sunday, Monday, Tuesday on their online classes. And we also, did get some feedback about, it's different per course. Some people liked that. Some people didn't. But at the same time, there were really I don't think in our surveys there were any negative things about D2L. The questions may not have specifically asked that, but I think it's always been, for virtual, I think a really good tool that we use.
Great. That's really great feedback. And I appreciate the comment on the scheduled updates, because obviously it can be difficult with a virtual work cycle when you could be doing work anytime to identify a good time to push updates. So I'll make sure I take that back to the team and let them know that so far, so good. If that should ever change, though, please do let us know, because we can probably work with Brightspace to change that upgrade window if we had to. But for now, I'll make sure nobody touches anything and that we keep on upgrading as we have been during that downtime.
Jason, I was just looking through the survey. It's a virtual learning student satisfaction survey that we put out this past fall, and I was just seeing if there were any comments that jumped out about D2L. And one thing that I saw pop up a lot, and I think it's something we're working to address, but that D2L would be a little bit more friendly on mobile devices. So.
Yeah. And Emily, you just gave me a fantastic segue into item 1 on my list.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you. So we'll just kind of weave in and out of these items as we go. If you do have anything that pops into your head that you want to talk about, again, I'm here to help any way I can. So don't feel bad about cutting me off and saying, no, wait, we want to talk about this now. That's fantastic. It's why I'm here. And
Sherry and Naha, if you guys want to talk in the chat or use your mics, feel free. This was just kind of a chance for us to get some insight from Jason and have a good discussion. So by all means, don't be you're not voiceless here.
So Brightspace on mobile has definitely been a challenge. I don't know if anybody in this meeting has tried to use Brightspace on a mobile device. If you have like a larger tablet, ideally with maybe a keyboard, so basically a laptop, but then you can sometimes get the desktop version to work all right. But if you're using a smaller form factor, it can be a bit clunky and limited to some of its functionality unless it takes you back like covertly into the desktop version, which then on a phone doesn't look great. D2L is releasing an update to that this summer. And so this was one of the, finally, we actually did go back to Brightspace after we did our last LMS evaluation. And we surveyed faculty, we surveyed students, we compiled all this information together. And one of the kind of resounding messages that we got from our students especially is that it's got to work on mobile. So we took that back to them and said, what's happening here, because we need to be able to support this. And that's not necessarily what moved them in this direction, but they were very excited that we brought that to them because they said, we've got something for this. And we're going to see that roll out over the summer. of this year. So it's called Daylight. You'll be hearing this a lot more as we get closer to it. So please consider this more like a first notice, just kind of a friendly, informal notice. There's nothing that you'll need to do for this to change. It will just roll over. We're going to have some training videos available as we get closer to it. All your classes will roll over to it at once, so you won't have the kind of, oh, which one does this use? Is this going to be in the old way? Is this one in the new way? They're all going to convert over to Daylight. Daylight is D2L's mobile-friendly version of Brightspace. So if you're looking for a pure mobile app, that is not what they're delivering in Brightspace. It is still going to be like the eHack address that you'll go to, but this one will actually sense that you're on a mobile device and rescale everything. So it's not just this page on this form factor. It will actually adapt to the dimensions of your...
No more zooming in.
No more zooming in, exactly.
It's just to click a link.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're familiar, in a way, it's a little bit like if you go to the hack.edu website, and you'll notice that if you go on a desktop, it's kind of set up in a long rectangle, and then if you go on mobile, it's more like a streamlined list of links. It'll be a little bit like that. Obviously, because it's an LMS, it won't just be necessarily a list of links down the center, but it will kind of form itself into whatever device you're using. So we're excited to roll that out, and you'll be seeing a lot more of that as we get closer to the rollout. Incidentally, it also works if you just resize it on a desktop. So I've been playing around with kind of emulating different form factors on my screen as we have been testing it.
So it's called Daylight, right?
It's called Daylight.
Sorry, I got a kick out of that because it's Brightspace, Daylight.
Yeah. The whole branding thing has taken just this weird turn. They seem to be getting really into it, and that.
I see that. I mean,
right.
I'm keeping a pattern. I just, when you first said that, I kind of giggled.
Yeah, they're big on it right now. The whole rebranding thing, I still honestly don't have a solid handle on what happened there, but they have committed. Got to respect their dedication to it. And so yeah, that'll be coming out. It is primarily a cosmetic change. So one thing that we really want to stress is that, yes, we want everybody to be aware of this. We don't want anybody to go to their online class one day and, oh, where'd everything go? It used to look so familiar, and now it looks very different. Beyond looking different, it functions the same way. The tools function the same way. So you'll see it at a glance, and it will be easy to say, what has happened here? But overall, it'll be the same for you, and it'll be the same for the instructor. And it's just a matter of kind of where those menus reshape themselves into, not so much what can you do. So you'll still have access to all the same tools. It'll still function the same way. It's just going to fit on your phone more intuitively, or your tablet or any device you might be using.
So that's like the beginning of the summer semester. Like, it's not going to change in the middle of the semester or anything, right? Okay.
No. That's part of my job is
classes, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, part of my job is to make sure, as best I can, that we change nothing like this in the middle of a semester. Even though it's mostly cosmetic, man, can you imagine, like, just wake up one day and you go to log in and where is everything? No, we don't want that.
The phones would be off the hook.
Yeah, right, exactly. Students would be upset, and honestly the faculty would be upset too, because they'd be looking at this and they would feel much the same way. You know, why do this in the middle of the semester? So we have a target window that is after spring and before summer. There are actually remarkably few days in the hack calendar that don't have class. So we've picked one of those windows as our switch flip, and we'll be working over the spring semester to train your faculty on what the differences are, so that they know, again, primarily cosmetically, but they know where things are located. So if students do end up saying, well, what happened here? Your faculty will be better equipped to be able to say, okay, well, here are some videos that we've created, or here's how you can find this tool that used to be over here, but now it's just one spot over, or it's just hidden in a drop-down menu now because that long bar wouldn't fit on a mobile device as well.
That is so great, because I use the mobile version of D2L a lot. Like, for days like today when it's extremely cold and I don't want to get out of bed, I'll just, go through everything on my phone instead of getting out of my four blankets. Or I know over the fall I used it a lot for discussion posts, like if I was on a long car ride, or if you're like me and don't understand sports, if I would be at a football game, I would be doing school because I'm cool that way. And I just remember things. I mean, I'm just like, why is this so difficult to navigate?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're seeing
Gracie, who won the Super Bowl last night?
I don't know. I think it was the Eagles. I'm not sure though. I didn't even know the Super Bowl was happening until like maybe last week.
Girl, I didn't even know until yesterday morning when I went into Walmart and it was like, oh, there's cupcakes with Eagles. And then
okay, virtual. We got to post this video online, so let's not embarrass ourselves here. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it'll be so great to have like an actual mobile version, especially with discussion posts, because again, like it was just a large bar and I just remember like scrolling like this the entire like game and everything, and then even if I would reply to something and put line breaks in it, because my replies are always extremely long, if I would go on to the desktop version, there's no line breaks. You just see like a giant clump of text. Horrible.
Yeah, so we're hoping to see a very good improvement in the mobile experience there. And really, I guess if there's going to be a theme to things that you'll see coming out of my office over the next couple of years, it's going to be a lot of mobile focus, because we see our students using their devices in transit to class or in between breaks. They're going from one place to another. Hey, let me just crank out this discussion post really quickly or check my email. We want to make sure that everything fits that new workflow, so that you don't feel as compelled to say, okay, well, I better go find a computer lab now because I want to do some discussion posts. And if I don't have that desktop monitor in front of me, it's going to be rough. So we're looking at doing that online. I don't know if any of you take face-to-face classes, but we're looking at some enhancements in our regular classrooms to support our mobile devices a little bit better as well. And then obviously Zoom, which you're using right now, which is awesome. And thank you for being such early adopters of Zoom as a way to allow our students to meet on whatever device they're on. And that's really what we're trying to focus on, is you bring your device and we will meet you there with whatever tool it is that you want to use to engage.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're definitely big proponents of Zoom. Last spring, the VLSAC used the Adobe Connect, and I watched the council chair at the time, navigate doing like bringing in documents and things like that, and switching speakers. It was always a little bit more complicated than it needed to be, as well as harder on my internet. Like lag was so bad in Adobe Connect for all, like once you got 6 people in a meeting, and I know our last chair would use 2 computers like I do, and it would just there would always be a little bit of a problem. And we don't find that we have that with Zoom.
That's great. Thank you so much for that feedback. That's really good to know. We did pick it in large part because it did seem more intuitive without losing feature sets. So it was very important to us that we could still do the necessary things that we always did. But it was nice to have one that we didn't have to necessarily sit somebody down and say, all right, for the next hour, we're going to teach you how to use this piece of software that's supposed to make your life easier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Something else too with Zoom, like you said, it's very intuitive. So now I don't have to do anything with the recording going on one computer. Every time someone's speaking, your camera gets highlighted. So I'll have a very dynamic recording ready to go for YouTube without any effort on my part. And the second thing that we liked too is we brought it to the classroom or to campus for an event and broadcasted that event out.
Nice.
Online through Zoom as well. And I think that was well received. We're looking to do that again this semester with the business club's hack tank. And we actually have IT who will be bringing all the sound right into the computer, and it won't be coming in from a webcam. So we're excited to see some of the other ways to keep using Zoom. And it just keeps getting easier and easier to do that.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's really exciting too, that you're beaming those events out. That is thrilling to me, honestly.
Yeah, we don't want virtual students. We don't want virtual students to be excluded. So last fall, we did the Harrisburg SGA student programming and multicultural affairs, I think, did a networking lunch. And so business professionals came in and spoke to students, and we had a rotation of those speakers come into the computer lab and speak to the webinar as well on different professional networking topics. So it was a lot of fun. I can't wait to do something like that again, or pass that baton off so that the VLSAC keeps doing that after I graduate, because I think that it's worthwhile for virtual students to see that.
Definitely. Yeah, that's really, really exciting. One other thing with Zoom, well, I guess it's being recorded, so I was about to say off the record, but really technically on the record, a possibility. So I'm making no promises here. I'll state that for the recording. This is not a promise. We have been exploring integrating Zoom in Brightspace so that you could conceivably have Zoom-enabled synchronous meeting sessions through your Brightspace courses rather than having to set up like individual meeting sessions with, say, group members and things like that. It is a very early exploration. There's a lot we have to learn about how that integration works. I don't know what the end result will be, if it will be as basic as there is a link that you can click to get to your faculty during office hours if they hold Zoom office hours, or if it will be as complicated as we can set up multiple different rooms within a course. But we are looking at what that would look like. And does it make it any easier? Since Zoom's easy anyway, does it add anything to that experience to have a Zoom dedicated link in your class that you could then hop into? So more on that to come. Again, we'll let you know as we continue to explore that. May come to, well, we'll just keep things the way they are. Or you may see Zoom rooms built into your classrooms coming up for your online classes.
Faith really loves that idea. She shared that in the chat box, and I think that's also really cool. I think it'll also help with kind of one goal of ours too is like virtual community of between all HAC students that are taking online classes, and just going to build that because that's what SGAs do on each campus. What can the VLSAC bring and provide? And I think if it's brought right to the courses, it's like bringing it to the classroom and creating that, because a lot of times we get feedback, students don't necessarily make new friends in a virtual class or get to know their student peers that way. And we would love to see that happen and to change that. Yeah,
definitely. That's something, so I still occasionally teach. I think it's important when doing my job that I keep in touch with both our face-to-face and online classes. And when I switched over, I used to do group assignments. They're in my 335, right? They're required for my class. And it was rough doing online group work with just discussion boards to facilitate that. And then, was that like 5 or 6 years ago now? I switched over to Hangouts then, which is very similar to Zoom if you haven't used it. And my group assignments got so much better for my students because they could actually engage with each other rather than read this wall of text and then reply with your wall of text and then wait for them to reply with their wall of text. And just that kind of interpersonal connection that you're describing, that building of community, those small groups getting to know each other. And then like you're doing with this meeting, being able to record that session if everybody's okay with that, and then posting it for somebody who, say, couldn't make it. Or giving out those assignments and being able to review that conversation later seemed like it was a really, really positive turn of events. So yeah, I would be thrilled to see that kind of capability just kind of baked into our online courses so that students could take advantage of it wherever they were in their online class.
I would think that would help students really make certain concepts of their courses concrete for them too, just having that opportunity to talk it out. And, not all students take classes obviously at the same time when they're online, but I think the average age of an online student is about 6 years older than the average age of the campus enrolled students. And we know that's because they're, working, maybe they have kids and they're taking their online classes. So there's going to be some similarities when they get to meet their peers, and they maybe can have that help them with their own understanding of what they're learning in their courses.
Yeah, very much.
That would be excellent for group projects, because I had a very large group project over the summer, and we all could have needed that face-to-face communication, because I think there were, it was a pretty large group project. I think it was 6-7 people in a giant group project, and it communication, even though like we somehow managed, and by just I mean literally down to the hour of the time the project was due, to communicate with each other. But having things face to face would have made things so much easier, so we could just all like meet, like, hey, we need to take an hour from here to get everything done, instead of going back and forth with like messaging and then have everything done like in the last hour of the day.
Right.
And it would just be a lot easier just to personally talk back and forth with people. Like, this is embarrassing, but the leader of the group project had a gender neutral name, and the profile picture was not the face. So the entire time I just ended up referring to the person as they, because I had no idea.
Sure.
I'm just like, I don't know who you are or how to address you. But even things just like to clarify things, stupid little things like that would have been so handy. Because I literally went through that time.
Nonverbal communication and all those other indicators that come with being able to see another person that we don't get through text. Absolutely.
Yeah, because it was very awkward referring to that person as they literally the entire course.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that those different advancements, just kind of building upon Brightspace, are really exciting. Knowing that I won't get to see them is a little disappointing, because I'm graduating here and I won't get to see mobile daylight. But
oh no, come back for one more class, or just visit somebody who's in a class. And
I might have to do the visit thing, because they've already done that come back for one more class thing, and here I am taking 2. But no, that's cool. Hey, we have about 9 minutes or so. If there are any other questions, or if you wanted to touch on some other things, I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up on the time. And what a feedback you were looking for.
Great. Yeah, I've got a couple other things we can touch on, but really, again, I don't know if there's anything that any of you wanted to discuss. I'd rather spend the time with that, or if there's anything that you wish we could do that we can't, or anything you think we could do better. I'd love to know that as well.
Would there be a way to bring in the Hawkmail into Brightspace at all? Maybe with the Google Docs that are commonly used, that are on the Hack server?
So are you talking about instead of Brightspace email, getting Hawkmail in Brightspace?
Well, I do have a bad taste in my mouth with the Brightspace email thing. That's complicated.
You're not alone.
Don't understand why I can't mark them all as read. But no, I guess not as a mail feature, but as a Google Docs feature for group projects, or having that ease of, I'm sending you a share to a survey or something, because I know as a council we use we have Outlook faculty emails, but we go back to our Hawkmail often for the Google Drive. Sure. And for the perks of having Google student emails that are all easily not going to go to spam, not going to run into any issues with trust or security. And I wondered if there were ways I know Dropbox is important, but also, and maybe a competitor of Google Drive, but just curious if there was a way to integrate that into Brightspace as well.
Yeah, so let me dig up some resources and get back to you on that, because we actually have some integration in place right now. So you can, for example, in an online class, connect your Hawkmail account to your Brightspace account, and it will then give you, let's say you were doing an assignment, it will give you the ability to kind of side load a Google Doc into that assignment. And then it will submit it. Now it will convert it into a Word file or whatever the Office equivalent is. So if you want to make sure the formatting stays, you'd want to get that in a PDF first. But we do actually have that kind of integration in there today. It's not always, I think, evident. And that's where I can dig up some resources and show you, okay, where will you connect it? How do you connect it? And then what would you expect to see when you wanted to, say, upload an assignment to a Dropbox? So if I'm capturing that right, then yes, we can absolutely provide you with some resources to show you how to do that. And if I'm missing the mark on my understanding, please do correct me as well.
Oh, no, I was just reaching. It was just a thought.
So yeah, I will follow up with you on that though, because we do have some resources to show people how to connect, and that might be something that virtual, either the VLSAC or virtual learning as a campus would be interested in, kind of making sure that that's distributed to students, because it is something that we want to make sure they are aware of, so they can use it if they like.
I know for some of the other online classes that I've taken, actually even on-campus class, like a math class, had a software component that we would go home and be able to work on some of the math assignments or get some excess problems in. Is your department kind of oversee some of the different resources that faculty get to use for their individual classes?
That is a fantastic question. Yes and no. So it depends on where those resources come from. If they are publisher created, that is certainly up to the faculty. We don't intrude on those decisions from them. If they want to create additional resources and they need some help to do so, then that's where my Center for Design and Instruction team comes in. They are both kind of faculty trainers, but also faculty assistants in terms of actually building things for their classes. So kind of both, yeah. Is that something you'd like to see more of? If I can recruit some faculty to buy in on some of that.
I think I was asking just because it occurred to me sometimes a professor is looking at what resources they want to get, maybe test out, or a different software that does the same thing as test out. I can't think of an example, but and they're looking at the costs that might go towards the virtual student having this resource. And the VLSAC originally initiated, but now it's Virtual Academic Affairs, the Access Code Reimbursement Program. And I just wondered, if faculty across the board know that that's there, if they could pick the best software for their courses, not worrying about the cost. Also, is there kind of a general line on where they get these, how they find out about those resources? I was kind of going down that line. I know that's kind of random.
Gotcha. No, thank you. That clarification is very helpful. I don't know if they're aware of that, but I can certainly help spread the word. My team is involved in a number of those discussions. So generally speaking, the faculty will evaluate the resource. And then if they encounter challenges or they want to know what else is available out there before they make a selection, then they'll come to my team and we will look at the resources. We'll see if we're buying anything else at the institution that's similar. We'll see if other faculty across the institution might be interested in doing the same product, so we can try to buy it at scale. Those types of efficiencies are under my unit, and we can certainly help spread the word about the reimbursement opportunities as well, because that might help them feel a little more at ease with some of those selections. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll definitely forward you information on that program just so you have the current one. And the reason I just thought, I think the last time I met a virtual professor I hadn't met in person on campus, they were reevaluating those things and the cost came up so much. And also just between some of the earlier classes that I took in computer information systems had my IT lab, whereas Sarah's taking the same course and seeing something else called SimNet. And I'm just wondering, the differences and the benefits or not benefits of the changes, just because, and if they were thought of or changed because they were looking at the cost on students or the cost on hack, just where the benefit line kind of is on the ease of use and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be very good for them to know. Thank you.
Well, I think that's probably a great place to probably wrap up for the night. I really want to take this time to, again, thank Jason for coming out just to kind of give us a rundown of some of the things that his department does at HACC for virtual learning and for virtual students. So thanks again, Jason.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And there's more to come if you wish to have me back. No pressure. But again, I always love opportunities like this. So I would be more than happy to attend another meeting talk about One Button Studios, Read and Write Gold, anything that you may want to hear about, I'm here for you. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We would love to have you back. Thanks.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. So everybody here, that's probably the end of the meeting for the night. I just wanted to refresh everyone that we do these meetings at 7 p.m. every Monday. So our next meeting is Monday, February 12th. Oh, why is this so blurry again? I don't know if that looks better or just smaller. The fit to window. Sorry about that. So yeah, next Monday, we'll have a general council meeting again at 7. We use the same Zoom meeting each week. And keep an eye on your Hawkmail as always for different events and information coming to you from virtual learning. And get excited because in March we have Hack Tank. So we'll be broadcasting that right from the campus, Harrisburg campus. And to answer your question from chat, yep, we're going to record this. This has been recorded. This meeting is going to the videos get posted to our D2L. So where you go in for all your classes, there is a virtual learning student advisory council course. And you might have to scroll all the way to the bottom to find it. And I think they're always alphabetically listed. So you can pin it to the top. I know I had to do that to kind of keep it up there. But we are going to get the videos from this meeting as well as the previous meetings we had posted on D2L as soon as possible. So keep an eye out for that too. So with that, everyone, I'm going to call for meeting adjournment. Thanks so much for attending again, and we'll see you all next week.